Okay, Rami, here we go. I think we're good to go over here on Instagram, although we've got this crazy divided image. Don't know how to fix that. My apologies to people who are watching us on Instagram. Hi, everybody. Just please bear with us as we get our, as they say, ducks in a row. We are live on X. And let me just do a quick check for YouTube. And we are live on YouTube, it appears. Yes, we are. Okay. Good day, everybody. It is June 21st, 2026. As always, the news is moving extraordinarily rapidly. And today we have our comrade Rami in Beirut, Lebanon. Rami, how are you doing?
Doing very, very good. Quite eventful past few days. I feel like we've been saying this every live stream, but it couldn't be more true today.
Indeed. A dramatic 24 hours. Actually, every day, every 24 hours, it seems to be dramatic. I'm in Kalamata, Greece, everybody. And we are going to address today the question of whether a real ceasefire has come into effect in the last 24 hours, because the media, some media outlets are reporting that following the closure of the Strait of Hormuz by the Iranian Central Command yesterday, around, I think it was around this time, and the arrival of the negotiating teams for the United States and Iran in Switzerland, the Israelis have stopped their carnage spree in Lebanon. At least they've paused it temporarily. That's what is being reported. We're going to ask Rami to tell us what he can say about that. But Rami also has some very powerful imagery to share with you of what he has seen during the past 3 days in Lebanon. Rami, why don't you just, let's first of all just give a shout out to some of the people who are joining us here. We have Sanka133 from Warsaw. Welcome. Verena Fraser. Pleasure to see you. Happy Father's Day from Flower Power. Yes, indeed. To all my fellow fathers out there, I wish you a prosperous and fruitful day, and I hope that you have the privilege of being with your family members today to celebrate this moment. And we also have Honestly Thompson and Adastra recordings from Marxist Alberta. I would love to believe that some part of Alberta is Marxist. And we also have our friend from Greece. What is that? Ladlum. I may not be pronouncing that correctly. Amina Manjada from London. Punam 2151 from Austria. Yeniseri 550 from Stockholm. We have Lillian Keane from Tasmania. Grandma Caprio, love that name, from the Pacific Northwest. And many more coming and joining the proceedings today. So, Rami, with that, why don't you just give us just a general sense before we jump into what the current situation is in Lebanon? Just tell us in broad terms what you've been doing over the past 3 days in Lebanon.
So last time we had a live stream, it was barely hours after my uncle's property got damaged from the neighboring explosion, bombing, airstrike. And at that point, it wasn't very certain what was happening. And then I believe that same evening, it was announced that there would be a ceasefire that would include Lebanon. And the next day, or was it June 17, I believe, the next day, June 15th, I was invited on a media tour to the south of Lebanon, which started in the city of Sur. As we might all know, Sur was under insane bombing constantly. The last 10 days of the war, of the aggression against Lebanon, was mainly focused around the Nabatean area, as well as Sur. And Sur, as an ancient city, is pretty much the city that everyone in Lebanon views as the nicest coastline, the nicest ancient ruins, and it was under heavy bombing over the last 10 days of the aggression against Lebanon. And on my way to Lebanon, to the south, this was the first time that we witnessed other people coming down south with us. Usually it was just journalists and the very few Lebanese people that decided to never leave the south. But what we witnessed was something extremely remarkable the day the ceasefire was announced. It was the massive inflow of Lebanese courageous residents of the south returning to their properties, not knowing if it has been damaged or where they'll be able to spend the night, since most properties in the south were destroyed. And I just wanted to share this little clip here. Not the best angle, but I think, Dimitri, when we went down south together, we were going 150 kilometers per hour on the highway. We've never stopped for anything at all. We've never seen traffic. We were never stuck in a bouchon, right? In a like at a checkpoint or anything. So it was kind of beautiful to see the amount of Lebanese people on that highway. I was with Ali from Free Palestine TV, and I caught him complaining at the traffic, which is a beautiful thing, considering the highways we were going on had no one at all. And we laughed it off when we realized that it was absurd that we're complaining about traffic. But this was just the spirit of the people going back south. And there's this image that you always see, and I don't know if it's like if it's a symbol or if it will become a symbol over time, but there's this caricature a bit of the image of a car with the mattress on the roof tied to the car. And there's something beautiful about this. It feels like people are going back home. We saw these images back in 2025 when people were going back south. So there's a couple of more images. I'll show them as we carry on with this live stream, but this was kind of the spirit going down south that day. There was traffic, people were honking. We were greeted by supporters of the Defenders of the South waving flags. It was bittersweet type of festivities, because we all know that most families in the South have a martyr in their family fallen in combat defending our land, or simply civilians, because Israel does not discriminate who they target.
That clip you just showed us, Rami, where approximately were you when you took that video?
So this is on the highway between Saida and Sur. So this is maybe 5 kilometers outside of Saida.
So that was on the coastal highway that we took several times from Saida to Sur. Okay. Yeah, that thing was wide open and completely empty when we were going down because of the threats of attacks on vehicles. There had been an explicit warning by the Israeli military that anybody driving that stretch of highway, so this would have been about a week to 10 days ago, was taking their lives into their own hands. Now, before we get into this in greater detail, I've not seen any of the video that Rami is sharing with us today. I do want to share with you the latest news about events in Lebanon and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. So as we reported yesterday, and is well known now, the Iranian military, after 2 or 3 days of utter carnage in Lebanon, announced that they were closing the Strait of Hormuz again. Yesterday, in our most recent episode, I related that the Trump regime had been unusually silent about this for some time. As of the moment we published our report yesterday, about 16 hours ago, there had been no official statement from Donald Trump. Now, the reports are, the ones that I've seen at any rate, and there may be more recent news, is that there has been virtually no firing by the Israeli military at this during the day today. I'm going to ask you about that, but before I do, I want to share with people a clip from Fox News, because eventually Trump did say something, and it wasn't particularly peace-oriented, and it was reported by Fox News, and here's what Fox said Trump had to say.
President Trump for more than 20 minutes, and he gave some new insight and reaction about the ongoing talks that are taking place in Switzerland and the threats coming from the Iranian regime. President Trump telling Fox News that the U.S. may take over the strait in the future if they have to and collect tolls. The president described this as the United States being the guardian angel of the Strait of Hormuz and the Middle East. And the president said ultimately that would involve the U.S. taking 20% of the oil that passes through the strait. Remember, this comes in reaction to the Iranians saying they will close the Strait of Hormuz in response to Israeli strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon. President Trump tells Fox News he spoke with Iranian officials overnight and said, you close it and you won't have a country. He went on to tell these officials, you won't even make it back to your effing country. Now, earlier today, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian said this about Iranian enrichment of uranium. The president also reacting to that. Take a listen.
We will not give up our right to enrichment, and they, too, will be forced to accept it. You all know what the so-called President of the United States was saying. He had made a complete 100-degree turn. He was saying that Iran must surrender unconditionally. Iran has no right to do this, it has no right to do that.
President Trump, during our call, responded directly to those comments by Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. President Trump told Fox News he better watch his mouth, he better shape up, or we'll take over the rest of the country. And so clearly the president reacting directly to these comments from Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian. And also President Trump talked about the broader memorandum of understanding, indicating this is just a ceasefire extension. This is not the final deal with the Iranian regime. And the president says he holds the cards and maintains a variety of options if the Iranians don't make these serious commitments at the negotiating table. He said, I have a 60-day option, and I can do whatever I want after that option. So again, President Trump leaving a variety of considerations on the table and says that the United States could become the guardian angel of the Strait of Hormuz and collect tolls itself while taking oil, around 20%, the president says.
So before I ask you to weigh in, Rami, I have several comments about this. First of all, guardian angel. I think the more appropriate term would be the guardian great Satan. But putting aside the absurdity of Trump's rhetoric, he said that the United States will take tolls. Well, first of all, he admitted a few days ago, after the signature of the MOU, that there was no military solution to the seizure of control of the Strait of Hormuz by Iran. And now, all of a sudden, he's done a complete about-face, as we've seen many times, and he's saying not only can they take control of it, they can actually implement some kind of toll regime, which would be extraordinarily profitable to the United States. I mean, 20% of the oil passing through over the course of a few years would probably amount to trillions of dollars. So the second thing is Narco Rubio has been saying that it is a violation of international law, as if he cares about international law, for anybody to charge tolls for ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. And he condemned the Iranian plan to impose what they describe as fees on ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz as a violation of international law. And now, and the Iranians have never suggested that they would charge a fee anywhere approximating 20% of the oil transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. So now, again, another complete and utter contradiction. between Trump's tirade today and Marco Rubio's statements. He said, according to Fox, that you won't have a country. Well, again, this is genocidal rhetoric. It's straight up threat to destroy all of Iran, which would constitute unambiguous genocide. And I question whether you can negotiate in any meaningful sense with somebody who, during the negotiations, as the people are assembling for both sides in Switzerland to conduct what is supposed to be a peace negotiation, he's threatening the entire Iranian nation with genocide. Extraordinary. Then he said, even more mind-boggling, you won't make it back to your country. So he's threatening to assassinate. This is very clear what this means. He's threatening to assassinate the negotiating team that has assembled in Switzerland. And given what the United States and Israel have done to negotiators on behalf of Iran and the resistance groups, this is a threat that one must take most seriously. And finally, he said, we will take over your country. First, he said, we're going to destroy your country. Then he said, we're going to take over your country. But Trump himself essentially described as idiots those who claimed that the United States was capable of doing that. He did that within the past few days because Iran would, any invasion of Iran, any takeover of Iran militarily would require a massive army, huge logistics. The United States hasn't even been able to seize control of the Strait of Hormuz. The idea, as Trump himself acknowledged a few days ago, that the United States could invade and take over Iran is fantasy. So these sound to me very much, Rami, like the ravings of a lunatic, somebody who is outright insane. I don't know what else to say about that. I don't think you need to be a psychiatric expert to understand that this man is mentally unbalanced and completely detached from reality, not to mention a malignant narcissist. But all of this leads to my first question, Rami, which is, as far as you can tell, what is happening on the battlefield today in Lebanon? Do you believe it's to be accurate that these media reports that Israeli forces have stopped advancing and stopped firing upon Lebanese targets?
Well, first of all, I believe the ceasefire should have been announced yesterday during the afternoon, like early afternoon in Lebanon local time. And we know that in the evening, a Hezbollah fighter under the name of Karl Roger Abdelmalik, a fellow Christian comrade who joined the ranks of Hezbollah, was martyred. So it's hard to know exactly at what time the ceasefire would have been put into place. But needless to say is that Israel is still targeting the south of Lebanon. And then we know that Israel is in a difficult position in Ali Tahir Hills, which is south of Nabatean, where they're trying to reclaim, to gather their the corpse of their soldiers that were targeted and killed in a Merkava tank that was blown into pieces. And they're also trying to infiltrate what they say is a Hezbollah base inside, underneath Ali Tahir Hill. And the Israeli public need this as a victory, right? The Israeli government needs to give this as a victory to their people. There's over 90% of Israelis surveyed believe that the war against Iran was lost. It's a defeat, and that it's 85% say that Iran came out of this stronger. So the question is Israel honoring the ceasefire? I do not believe so. Do they intend for whatever ceasefire they're enforcing? Do they intend to continue with it? I don't believe this could stand, mainly because it would be a humiliating defeat for Israel. And then we have at least one documented Hezbollah fighter that was announced as a martyr yesterday. I'm speaking to my colleagues, my friends in Nabatean who work for the ISAF, whether they have documented any explosions in the south. They haven't gotten back to me just yet, but I'm sure they have more important things to do than to respond to me at this moment. But that's at least my assessment of the Nabatean region. Israel is looking to get a victory out of Ali Tahir, because that's our only way to save face.
Right. And the other thing which I think is important, obviously, to bear in mind is that even if there has been a suspension of the attacks by Israel in South Lebanon today, that just may be a temporary pause in the attacks while the negotiations are happening in Switzerland. And, in order to perhaps extract some kinds of concessions from the negotiating team from Iran. And then it may be, that we will see a brutal resumption of the attacks on Lebanon as soon as the negotiating teams part company, especially if those negotiations don't make any progress. Now, I just want to share with you a statement by Hezbollah, which was made, it looks like today. Yes, it was today. This is reported by the Resistance News Network. And the statement reads as follows: "It has become clear and certain that rounds of direct negotiations to which the Lebanese Authority delegation was driven to Washington, only to now nod and stamp the dictates written by the U.S. administration, confiscate Lebanon's sovereignty, and shift its political position to the side of those reconciling with the Israeli occupation and its illegitimate entity. There is absolutely no hope for any good to result from these reconciliation negotiations because their premise is wrong and suspicious, and their goal is submission and surrender. We in Hezbollah condemn once again the approach of direct negotiations with the Israeli enemy, its rounds, and what results from them. We condemn their obstructive function, which constitutes as an obstacle in the face of the enemy's project, the efforts of the resistance field, and the great sacrifices of our great people, which the authority could have capitalized on and used these cards of strength to achieve a full and unconditional withdrawal from our Lebanese land." So at least with respect to the negotiations that are happening between the collaborationist Lebanese government and Israel, it is quite clear that the resistance scorns and disdains them as a betrayal and inevitably doomed to failure. So with that, Rami, why don't you tell us about the extraordinary scenes you've witnessed over the last few days?
But just one tiny last word over here is that Iran, I believe, is fairly aware that Trump uses negotiations or any form of peace discussions as leverage within warfare. And that's why I think it's important to also recognize that Iran has changed the order in place or the rules of engagement. Shutting down Hormuz during negotiations just shows to what extent Iran is willing to go to defend its interests. And I believe I remember in the beginning of the genocide, ongoing genocide that was escalated in October 7, is that we kept talking about leveraging Hormuz by Iran to put pressure on Israel. And now Iran is able to play that card without the repercussions of looking like unnecessarily jacking up oil prices or anything of this sort. So the Hormuz card is now more powerful than ever. And I believe that there's an understanding across the world that if Iran uses it, it's out of proportional measures, right? It's like it's an honest card that needs to be played, and they're not just waving it around at any opportunity that they can. Right. So I spoke about the traffic going south, and I just wanted to show this footage over here. Basically, part of this media tour is that we had access to places in Sur, in Tyre, that was never really accessible before. It was basically zones that were closed or that were not accessible because Israel had bombed, and the government of Sur were finally able to clear the road. These images look way too familiar, whether it's in Nabati, in Sur, or anywhere else in the south.
This is good.
This is the area. This is
what. Sorry to interrupt. Just so people know, Sur Tyre is how people in the English language normally refer to it. It's about 20 kilometers north of the border of occupied Palestine on the Mediterranean coast. Sorry, go ahead, Rami.
this is what people are going back to. The South has been basically systematically destroyed by either airstrikes, mortars, and in some places, detonation of TNT. And this is the systematic approach, which is meant for multiple reasons. One of them is also to kill the ambitions of the Lebanese people from ever returning to their homes and to create despair. But there's one thing I've noticed in Lebanon is that the people who say they're tired of this war are people that haven't lived it at all. And when you go to Nabatea, there's overwhelming, basically consensus of support for the resistance. There's truly no way to break the spirit of the people of the South, of the people of the Jnub. And generally, when you hear people in Lebanon saying that we're tired of this war, it's people that are living in Beirut, Ashrafiyeh, who are tired of the sound of hearing of those surveillance drones that Israel flies over Beirut. But I've seen nothing but entire support for the defense of Lebanon, and there's an overwhelming understanding that there's one aggressor and that the only way for the south of Lebanon to be entirely free is through the removal of the Zionist regime, the Zionist entity. So
before you continue, Rami, a friend of ours, Sarah Shepard, is asking in the chat whether you're from Lebanon. Perhaps before you continue, you can just talk about your connections to Lebanon.
Yeah, so my dad is Palestinian, my mom's Lebanese. My family lived in Lebanon until the mid-1980s to, between 1995 and 1990, my family started relocating towards Canada. So we are Palestinians from Lebanon, my mom being Lebanese.
Right.
So now there's this story over here.
خلصوا مهمتهم الإسعافية ليعاقبهم إنه سحبوا جرحى. الحين هيدا المركز هو مركز الإسعافي، المنطقة الإسعافية لكشافة الرسالة الإسلامية. استهدف الأمبولانس قصد، هيدي استشهد فيها مسعف. بهذه السيارة استشهد مسعف. آثار الصاروخ بعد بتلاقوا هون موجودين. رجع استهدف النقطة الإسعافية اللي لهم تصاوب فيها اثنين، يعني راح شهيد وتصاوب اثنين. ولحقهم سبب الاستهداف انه قاموا بواجبهم الانساني والاسعافي بسحب جرحى من بلده الغندوريه.
So what is that, Rami? What did we just see?
Sorry, I have a very hard cramp in my leg. 1 second.
Okay.
My leg is aching. Sorry.
Take your time.
So basically, this is the village of Srifa, which is between Nabatea and the village of Ghandouriya. And what ended up happening in this village is very shocking. First of all, a paramedic was called onto scene to rescue a wounded Hezbollah fighter. And the paramedics successfully did their job, which is lawful under international law. Combatants that are wounded can be escorted to safety to a hospital for care. Until then, nothing really is out of the normal, out of the ordinary. As soon as the paramedic went back to their station, so I don't know if you could see here. This is what you're seeing here is a bombed ambulance, and then right behind there's a shelter for the paramedics, kind of like a makeshift resupplying tent where they stored oxygen, stored band-aids, and other forms of equipment necessary for paramedics to do their job. And what ended up happening is that as soon as the paramedic returned to their gathering point, the ambulance got bombed, killing one paramedic. And then there were 3 other paramedics in the little tent storing all the resupplying equipment. The Israelis then bombed the tent as well, killing 2 more paramedics, a total of 3 paramedics killed. And this was a punishment because the paramedics are rescuing wounded combatants. And the message to be sent there is that if you support, if you defend, if you attend wounded combatants, you'll be targeted as well. Throughout my coverage of the south of Lebanon, I've seen more than 100 destroyed ambulances. And that just shows a systematic policy of the Israeli genocidal entity to kill and to paralyze any form of rescuing of either civilians or combatants. So this is one of the stories that we heard here in Sifa. These stories are coming out like lately because it's the first time that we can access these areas so that we could tell the story of these people that were martyred. This happened weeks ago, maybe months, and it's only now that we can finally hear about the martyrdom of these paramedics simply for doing their job. The paramedics are not doing any political work. They are just fulfilling their obligations as paramedics. There was a question here saying, Rami, was that the place you were staying in during your last report from Nabatia? No, in Nabatia, we were staying at the Najda Shabiya, which is the People's Rescue Hospital. This specific paramedic gathering is in the village of Srifa, which is between Nabatia and Ghandouriya, which is kind of like it's on the main road that leads to Ghandouriya. And then there's this.
Just before you continue, Rami, I'm sorry to interrupt. I want to share some information relevant to the strikes on paramedics in Lebanon during this heinous war. This is a statement from Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, and this was issued a month ago, so this is not up to date. We are outraged over the killing of paramedics who were simply doing their job, taking huge risks to save lives. Attacks on healthcare are unacceptable and must not be normalized. And then I've highlighted this paragraph. Again, this is only from March 2nd to May 12th. According to the World Health Organization, in that period, we're talking, over a month ago, the period ended, 161 attacks against healthcare were recorded, resulting in 110 deaths and 252 injuries. This included 15 attacks, resulting in 12 deaths and 21 injuries that occurred after the start of the ceasefire on April 17th. And so it has only gotten worse since this report was issued a month ago. Sorry, Rami, please continue.
I mean, when we interviewed the paramedics at Najda Shabiya, that was less than a week ago, maybe a week and a half. They said 200 of their own team members were killed. And there's 3 or more paramedic teams that operate, whether it is the Red Crescent, Red Cross Society, whether it is the Ishaf, the team that we've met, or there are other ones. There's a systematic targeting of paramedics, and this is nothing new. We saw it in Gaza. We actually forgave it in Gaza, right? There was outrage amongst us who care about the Palestinian cause, but in the West, truly we gave carte blanche for the Israelis to commit such atrocities. We saw it in Lebanon. We will see it wherever the Israelis go. Mm-hmm. So, and then there was this image that really, that is really telling. This is a paramedic vest in front of the small tent where the paramedics were operating a resupplying booth.
Your image, it's quite blurry. I don't know if there's anything you can do about that. I know the signal, the Wi-Fi you have apparently is not too good. Is there anything you can do to improve that?
Is it me, or is it the video that I'm uploading?
The video that you're uploading seems clear to me, but your image is a little bit blurry. And by the way, I'm also going to get some more light because it's getting night here. Just give me 1 second. Go ahead, Rami. Continue.
No, so sadly I cannot improve the quality of my video. Now, whenever we would go south, Dimitri and whenever we would go south, remember when we were going to Nabatea, Dimitri, I asked you, I asked the team that was with us, when's the last checkpoint until we get to Nabatea? And people in the car were kind of found it funny that I asked, because the Lebanese army had abandoned all checkpoints, right? The Lebanese army truly abandoned all positions in the south. And it really reminded me that the people who are defending the south it's not the Lebanese army. Actually, the Lebanese army, if anything, is Hezbollah. It's the people defending the south. If you leave your checkpoints, you've lost your right to claim to be the defenders of Lebanon. Since the past 5 years, Israel is flying drones over Beirut. You abandon your checkpoints in the south of Lebanon. And our friends who will fully stand behind the resistance will be the first ones to tell you that this is not the individual Lebanese soldiers that are abandoning those checkpoints and not shooting down these Israeli drones flying over Beirut, but it's the collaborators in the government, the Minister of Defense, the Prime Minister, the President, that are setting up the framework, the groundwork to eventually normalize with Israel. And the people stopping it from happening are the defenders in the south that are forcing Israel to concede through these victories that we're able to claim in the south. So this video here, it's very telling. First day of the ceasefire, if you zoom in, the Lebanese army setting up a little checkpoint, pointing to come to the defense of the people returning to the south. Where were you for the last 3 months when the south of Lebanon was getting bombed? Where were you? The first day, and I have videos. I have to go through my phone to get the proper footage. I don't have it right now on StreamYard, but they're the first ones to parade themselves coming in as the saviors. When you're in the south, you will never see a Hezbollah soldier. When we were in Nabatea watching over from the Najda Sha'biyya, we never saw them, the Hezbollah fighters. They're fighting underground, fighting in ways that Israelis themselves will tell you that Hezbollah operates like ghosts, but they've never left. You cannot see them, but if you refresh on Telegram, you'll see the good work that the defenders of the south are doing. The Lebanese army made themselves visible, and I found it completely insulting.
And the thing that's wild about this, Rami, is that Israel has been killing Lebanese soldiers. In fact, while we were I believe it was in Saksakia, or the village next to it, where we visited that Christian shrine about 10 days ago, the Israeli military killed a brigadier general in the Lebanese army who was a Sunni, and then a captain in the Lebanese army who was a Christian, and a private who was a Shia. So it was, I guess you could say, a non-discriminatory atrocity. They took out one member of all of the major ethnic groups in the country in the Lebanese army. There have been numerous other incidents. And just yesterday, according to the Lebanese government, 2 Lebanese soldiers were killed in an Israeli airstrike. So even though they're not defending the country, they are being targeted. Senior figures, mid-level figures, rank-and-file soldiers, and still nothing in the way of defense. It's all falling on the shoulders of the resistance groups, particularly Hezbollah.
We have Julie Brown, who says, collaborators with whom? Well, collaborators with the Zionist entity in the United States. First of all, they're having direct discussions with Israel. That's a crime within Lebanese law. Under the Lebanese constitution, normalization is a crime. And then second of all, they've condemned Iran for so-called negotiating on behalf of the Lebanese government for the ceasefire. When Iran said that Israel has no right to attack Lebanon or to bomb Beirut, the Lebanese government stood up and said Iran has no business defending Lebanon or speaking on behalf of Lebanon. The Iranian government has shown more courage and a deeper understanding of the needs of the Lebanese people than the Lebanese president himself. Are the Lebanese army with the traitor on, or the people? Many high-ranking Lebanese generals understand that the Lebanese government is committing political suicide. They're trying to disarm Hezbollah. It's impossible to do so. Hezbollah is the defense of the south. Hezbollah does not abandon checkpoints. Hezbollah is shooting down drones that the Lebanese government is not willing to touch. So I believe that the Lebanese army, there's some high-ranking officials there that definitely stand with the people. But the issue is that the chain of command is rotten. The commander-in-chief, the president of the country, the prime minister of the country are on the payroll of Israel, either figuratively or in reality. We still need to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it very, very insulting to even set up a checkpoint over here. You have no business being in the south. And then you have, this is, I think, this is the village of right outside of Randouriya called Borj Alawai. What you're seeing here is pretty much the entire city has been destroyed. This is a gas station that was completely bombed. And just to show you guys where Randouriya is, so wherever you see that little H, we were, I believe, in that area. That's Borj Alawai. If you continue east, that's Randouriya. And we were told the story of Randouriya, which I believe will be written in history books one day. Or I don't know, this is part of the myth and the legend of Hezbollah. So for 115 days, has Israel tried to penetrate Randouriya. And the reason why Randouriya is so important, because if you take the Srifa route, if you look at the Srifa highway that goes from east to west, that brings you to Sur. And if you take the highway north to south, that highway over here on the east, on the right side of the screen, that goes from Borj Alawai to Randouriya north, that goes to Nabatiya. And if you take that same highway and you then go south, where you see Borj Alawai, Arawiya, that brings you to Tibnin, and then it takes you to Bint Tishbel. So this intersection over here, if Israel is able to set up a checkpoint to occupy this intersection, Israel is then able to attack south, north, and towards the west, and to isolate, pretty much fragment the entire south of Lebanon. Hezbollah fought ferociously in that in the village of Borj Alawai, in Randouriya, 115 days of continuous bombing, airstrikes, you name it. Israel was never able to penetrate, to enter, to occupy Randouriya, and that's the tough work that Hezbollah was under, yet they were still able to come out with a victory in the city of Randouriya after 115 days of continuous bombing. Israel was never able to come up with a victory there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have more. Did we see this footage? Yeah, we did. And then there's the village of Khirbet. This is the city of Khirbet Salam. I'll show you guys. It's south of Borj Alawai towards Tibnin. First of all, what's amazing, it's this is a very narrow road. Rubble is on both sides of the road, making traffic impossible. This is supposed to be a two-way road. They alternate between people going south, people going north, just to make it just to control traffic. When I was speaking about people having mattresses attached to their car, here you could see kind of that depiction over here with the chair and pillows and whatever tied to the back of the car. Was it the wrong video?
Where is this community roughly in relation to Sur and Saida, which are on the coast?
So you are no longer on the coast over here. You're probably closer to Palestine and Syria than you are to the Mediterranean Sea.
So this is inland in what, the southeastern part of Lebanon?
Yes. So I think I have let me see if I can bring a little photo here. No, I do not have that photo. Actually,
That's okay.
Yes, we do have a picture. So Khirbet Salam is right here. We were filming. Oh, we cannot tell much. If you know where Tabneen is, it must be easier to understand. But basically, on the right side of the screen, you have Palestine and Syria. I say Palestine because the Israelis are occupying Mount Hermon, and that's kind of the direction where it is. So it's kind of that section that Israel is taking over Syria. Then you have Tibnin Castle, and then the arrow that I have over here is where we were. And there's this little photo that so this is a car, and I don't know if you can notice over here, but this is a vehicle. I remember looking inside, it was all women and little girls in this car. And if you look at the back of the vehicle, you'll see 3 men dressed in military and 1 woman. You could assume that these are martyrs of the battle in the defense of the south of Lebanon, with their bags attached to the top, returning south. And after Tibni, this is pretty much as south as one can get before directly being in touch or in close proximity to Israelis, occupiers.
Right.
So they were going south on that highway towards Tibnin, and there's truly nothing stopping these Lebanese people from going south. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this village of Khirbet Salam is because Israel viewed this village as a important supply route towards Hezbollah's efforts in the south. And they believe that the only way they can stop Hezbollah from committing acts of self-defense and to resist, it's by leveling the entire city of Khirbet Salam to the ground. Every single property there was completely damaged, either damaged or leveled to the ground. None of them can be that has any business value at this point. There's no electricity. The structures probably need to be redone. There's no water. There's no plumbing. There's nothing at all. But people are immediately going back and trying to set up shop and to bring back a bit of life to the south of Lebanon. There's some more footage that I want to show. We just have a cap on how much videos we can upload at once here on this platform. So I need to remove some things. And then, oops. And then we went more south. Towards Tibnin. At Tibnin, as soon as we left Tibnin, which is south of Khirbet Salam, Israel had attacked Tibnin. Thankfully, there was no one part of our media that was impacted by the strike. We were at the Tibnin hospital, and this man that we saw there, he went back to his property and was trying to inspect what was going on. A wall fell on him and injuring him, so he was brought to the hospital. And when we interviewed him at the hospital, he ended up telling us that in 2024, he was working in the south of Lebanon, and the Israelis kidnapped him and brought him into prison for 4 days in the south of Lebanon, into Palestine. And he spoke about the torturing that Lebanese prisoners in the south of Lebanon have been experiencing under the custody of the Israeli terrorists. And he said that if this is what they're doing to us Lebanese, one could only imagine what they're doing to the Palestinian detainees, Palestinian captives, hostages in Gaza or even in the West Bank. So that was this man's story. I believe Free Palestine TV will be publishing an interview with him on their platform. And and then in different news, we a few days after the media tour that brought us to Sur and to Sur, we were able to visit Nabatea, and it coincided with the first day of Muharram, and the first 10 days of the month of Muharram are holy. The 10th day of Muharram is the day of Ashura, which is the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein was killed in the Battle of Karbala. I should be publishing a video about this since I documented the story of Karbala when I was in Iraq. And every night or during the first 10 days of Muharram until Ashura, the people they do something called latmiyas, which is they recite words of solidarity with Imam Hussein and express the values of Imam Hussein and teach the story of Karbala Imam Hussein. And it's quite interesting. It's beautiful, and I don't know if beautiful is the right word to describe it, but it's very powerful witnessing these latmiyas.
قوم يا حامل الحمى قوم يا حامل الحمى قوم يا حامل الحمى قوم يا حامل الحمى يا أمير المؤمنين قوم يا حامل الحمى يا أمير المؤمنين قوم يا حامل الحمى يا إمام المتقين قوم يا حامل الحمى يا إمام المتقين قوم يا حامل الحمى قوم شوف العارف ماجد قوم يا حامل الحمى قوم شوف العارف ماجد.
Dimitri, I don't know if you recognize any of the paramedics that were in this video. This was we were maybe 200 worshippers, maybe, I don't know if that's right, but 200 members of this community walking through the streets of Nabatea. When we were at the top of the Najda Sha'biyya, there was a road leading to the south, to the city center of Nabatea, and we didn't see a single car going towards there. And Israel kept bombing this place periodically, every 10 minutes or so. And it was very powerful to see 200 members of this Husseiniya, members of the Shia community of Nabatea, walking across the streets of Nabatea, despite the old souks being completely destroyed. Basically, there's not a single business operational. It was impossible to find a coffee or like a little snack in Nabatea, yet there were still 200 people willing to honor the story of Imam Hussein on the first day of Muharram by chanting latmiyas in honor of Imam Hussein across the streets. And I found this extremely beautiful and powerful. And there was also the story of Karbala, the story of Imam Hussein is a story of martyrdom. It's a story of never surrendering and resisting injustice, and to never bowing down to injustice. And you see the similarities, and these people of Nabatea coming back, they've lost everything, and they're still not willing to compromise. They're still wanting to keep resisting. And this is their way of expressing their love for Imam Hussein.
Yeah.
You were going to say something, Dimitri?
Yeah, I saw similar scenes when I was in Iran during Ramadan in March. Very powerful scenes of this nature. The fact that people are willing to gather like that, worshippers in broad daylight, under the eye of the aggressor is in and of itself a testimony to the power of their faith. Is there anything else you want to add to those powerful images and videos you shared with us, Rami?
So there's again, there's way more images I would like to show you guys, but it's very hard to go through everything and I mean, I've recorded so much. I'm trying to curate everything that I can. And I just wanted to emphasize a couple of stories here, is that the people in the South, they're resisting, and the people of the South are serving heavy blows to the Israelis, and that no matter whatever people want to call this, the ceasefire, one thing is for real, one thing certain is that Hezbollah will never compromise on their rights. Hezbollah will never compromise on justice. And you see this with multiple stories. This over here is a little tweet that Hadi Hotait had published from Israeli Army Radio. A fighter from the Maglan elite unit near Ben Ari was killed overnight in what has now been clear for publication, a large-scale Hezbollah attack involving rockets, mortar shells, and explosive drones carried out on the area of Kfar Tibnit, which is 4 kilometers away from Nabatiyah, and the Ali Al-Tahir Hills in South Lebanon. The attack took place at around 1:30 a.m. when launched dozens of rockets, mortar rounds, and explosives UAVs against Israeli forces during an operation aimed at seizing the Ali Al-Tahir mountain range. Nir was killed while 2 other soldiers were seriously wounded. So basically, there's no days off for Hezbollah, and there's Hezbollah kind of found a weakness that Israel cannot defend against, and that is the fiber optic drones. And also they're in a vulnerable position on the Ali Al-Tahir hill, where they think they have operational or strategic control of the hill, but they cannot even defend themselves. Hezbollah said that the terms of the ceasefire, I believe, from the last time I checked, is that Israel cannot carry on and take on more land or advance in its occupation. Yet they cannot maintain the positions that they are currently having. And then Israelis are using the word incinerated. That's not me, but I believe that's a beautiful word to describe what these terrorists are going through. The name of the newly announced Israeli soldier killed in battle of Ali Tahir, Liav Kebabia. The name suits him pretty well. He was just declared kebabbed in his Merkava tank, along with the commander of the 52nd Armored Battalion, Dor Ben Shimon, and others. It seems Hezbollah made him live up to his family name. So this is what's happening in this front line, right? This is where we are. I mean, in Nabatiyah, there were a lot of places where we're not allowed to film. It all makes sense now why we couldn't, because there's definitely something happening behind the scenes, and they're getting blown into pieces. And then I just also wanted to speak about a Hezbollah fighter named Karl Roger Abdelmalik, who is a Christian fighting alongside the real Lebanese army, the South, the defenders of the South, Hezbollah. He was martyred yesterday defending. He was in a village, actually, on the highway, the second highway that leads to Nabatiyah. And he was killed not far from the video where I was showing the Latmiyas in Nabatiyah. So that just shows the military conditions of Nabatiyah, where nowhere is actually safe. And he was a Christian fighting alongside his brothers, defending the South, and he paid the he was elevated to the title of martyr, of a shohada. And his last words on social media was, "I'm going south. If I get martyred, please forgive me." So this is the risk these Hezbollah soldiers are taking before going to battle. And they understand what risk they're taking, and they're still willing to do what's right. This is different than American soldiers going into Iraq thinking that that it's going to be that they're fighting an opponent that is divided and that will quickly surrender. These people understand the risk they're taking, and they're willing to pay it in honor of the country they love so much, and also in defense of the world's biggest cancer, the world's biggest Satan after the Americans, or maybe tied with the Americans. So this is and his funeral was today at 6 p.m. local time, which was 3 hours ago. I will definitely,
Okay. I want to update everybody, and I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the handle of the person who mentioned this in the chat, but thank you for bringing this to our attention. This was announced, I think, around the time we started our live stream. Iran's delegation has left the U.S.-Iran talks venue and process over threats by U.S. President Donald Trump, according to the semi-official TASS news agency. I hope that they'll all get on the plane and go home. You can't deal with this man. He's threatening to murder. The worst thing of all is that he's threatening to destroy the entire country of Iran. This is a genocidal maniac. But he's even threatening, as we discussed at the outset after we showed you that Fox News clip, to murder the negotiating team if they don't do as Donald Trump commands. I don't know why anybody would attempt to negotiate under those circumstances. So I do hope that the Iranian delegation just bails out altogether, goes back to Iran, keeps the Strait of Hormuz closed for a significant period of time, to teach this maniac in the White House, this mass murderer and child killer, that there's going to be a severe price to pay if he does not deliver on the benefits envisioned by the Memorandum of Understanding. Now, I do want to address what I'll call a vibrant debate that has been going on in the chat. And I have to say, sometimes I wonder, and I'm sure this happens from time to time to all platforms that are anti-Zionist, but sometimes, people come into the chats and they say stuff which, kind of sounds like it's designed to make us look bad, and particularly to give support to the inevitable allegation that we're anti-Semitic. So, and I want to say right here and now that when we see stuff like that, we don't always catch it, but when we do, when it's just blatantly anti-Semitic, any racist commentary at all. Sometimes we get racist commentary against Arabs. Sometimes we get bigoted commentary against Muslims. But any bigoted racist commentary, when we see it, our policy is to block it, exclude it from the chat. But I do want to get into this particular thing because it's a misrepresentation of my position. Somebody in the chat who goes by the handle of Bobzaba4842, who has been extremely aggressive in attacking the Jewish people in this in his commentary, says that I will continue to tell you that the Jewish lobby, Israel lobby, has nothing to do with the U.S. policy in the Middle East. Okay, first of all, I don't refer to it as the Jewish lobby because I think that's a misrepresentation. I can say that with absolute certainty because I know Jewish people from around the world who are fiercely anti-Zionist, and those lobby groups do not represent them. In fact, they condemn them vigorously and unfailingly. So when you say the Jewish lobby, what you're implying is that this lobby represents all Jews, and that's just clearly not the case. I mean, it's undeniable that that's not the case. The second thing is, so let's just focus on this claim that I say the Israel lobby has nothing to do with the U.S. policy in the Middle East. That's actually not my position. I'm sure that the Israel lobby has something to do with the U.S. policy in the Middle East. My position is that the elite of the U.S. government in both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, that they have an agenda most of the time which is perfectly aligned with that of the Israeli government. And they work collaboratively to achieve that agenda. And that agenda is to ensure by any and all means necessary Western hegemony. Really, that means Western oligarchic dominance of this critically important region, its resources and its trade routes. And so they're working collaboratively most of the time. They don't have any disagreements. They just are on the same page. They want the same goals, and they work together. Now, it's true that sometimes some politicians in the U.S. and other Western countries will get out of line, and they will, begin to express too much sympathy with the Palestinians, or express too much criticism of Israel. And then the Israel lobby, which is, I think, a more accurate term by far than the Jewish lobby, the Israel lobby will swing into action and will do everything possible to destroy them. So some examples are, I think, Jamal Bowman, U.S. congressman, Thomas Massey, Republican congressman. Lots of examples of this, where AIPAC and other Israel lobby groups went hog wild to destroy them and end their political careers, and succeeded. But my view is that when the Israel lobby does that, it is acting with the consent and support of the leadership of the Democratic and Republican Party. I think that the Democratic Party leadership wanted to see Jamal Bowman out because he was too critical of U.S. policy towards Israel. And I have no doubt that the Republican Party elite wanted to see the backside of Thomas Massey too, for the same reason. He was too critical of Israel. So yeah, it's true that the Israel lobby can bring to an end the political careers of some of the more, shall we say, marginalized and less powerful members of Congress or the parliaments in Western countries. But that doesn't mean that they're working at cross purposes with the elites. The elites want them to do that because the elites want Israel to be their rabid attack dog in the region and to ensure Western hegemony over the entirety of West Asia. So when it happens, and this doesn't happen frequently, that the agenda of the U.S. elite and the agenda of the Israeli political elite diverge, and that has happened sometimes. When it diverges, then, in my view, and I think there's plenty of evidence to support this, the U.S. government will tell Israel how it's going to be, and Israel complies. Most of the time, they're on the same page. So there's no need for Washington to issue a top-down order to the Israeli political elite. But when they part company and it relates to an issue, the difference of opinion relates to an issue that is extremely important to the U.S. political elite, they will issue orders to Israel's government, and Israel's government will comply, for the simple reason that Israel depends existentially on U.S. support. It has no alternative but to comply. And you can hear this coming out of the mouths, in the more candid moments of senior Israeli, current and former Israeli officials. They depend on, without the U.S. Support, Israel would be wiped off the map in the matter of months, if not weeks, because of the absolute outrage that they have engendered in the region with U.S. weapons, U.S. support, Western support. And the last thing I want to say is, there's been a lot of the same individual has been making a lot of commentary in the chat, and some others have chimed in about Judaism. And, that one comment I saw was that Zionism has torn the mask off of Judaism, and they're essentially the same thing. Again, I strongly disagree. I've read the New Testament and the Old Testament many times. I have some familiarity with the Talmud. And like all religious texts, this is true of all religious texts, including the Quran, there's a considerable amount of ambiguity. And sometimes you can find statements that seem to be directly contradictory. And, how you interpret religious texts is very much influenced by your own views of the world and your own values as a human being. So what some people regard as Judaism, completely legitimately, might be radically different from what other people regard as Judaism. Obviously, Zionists have an interpretation of Judaism which is utterly offensive and outright criminal, in my view. But there are people who have other people, anti-Zionist Jews, who have a very different interpretation of the religious texts underlying the Jewish religion. And I don't think that their views are any less legitimate. In fact, I will enthusiastically endorse any interpretation of Jewish scripture which is fundamentally anti-Zionist, egalitarian, and humane and compassionate. And I believe that is an interpretation that you can draw from all religious scripture. I mean, and I just want to conclude these observations by pointing out that a hell of a lot of people in the Christian world believed that, and to this very day, and I'm talking here about Christian Zionists, they believe that the Christian scripture not only permits, but mandates support for Israel's heinous crimes. There were many Christians, self-professed Christians, who believed that Christian scripture not only permitted, but mandated the destruction of indigenous peoples in what we now call the Americas. There were many people who called themselves Christians who believed that the institution of slavery was consistent with Christian principles and even mandated by it. So you can go right across, and there are people in the Muslim religion who impose upon the Quran an interpretation which, pursuant to which the most heinous crimes are not only permissible but obligatory. So I cannot stress enough that that somebody's interpretation, or one group's interpretation of a religious scripture, is not necessarily the be all and end all of interpretations, and that other people, reasonable people, can adopt quite a different view of these matters. And if people don't like that, if they don't like that is my view, well, so be it. I mean, that is my view. And I don't apologize for it for 1 second. So with that, Rami, if you have any observations you want to add, please feel free to chime in.
Dimitri, my internet is cutting quite a bit. I ran out of data on my phone, and my Wi-Fi here is pretty bad, so I didn't actually hear everything you had to say. But I think we need to also remind ourselves that the focus here is on the Palestinians, and that we should never distract ourselves on the real aggression here. That is, the Palestinians are the ones that are suffering. It's the South Lebanese people that are struggling. It is their region that is under the boot of Zionism and Western imperialism. So as long as we keep the focus on the real people that are at the forefront, I think that's where we. I mean, Dimitri, the other day I heard you say that the greatest disinfectant is sunlight, and I feel like we need to focus on Palestine and the Palestinians and the South Lebanese people.
100%. So, do you have a few minutes to take some questions, Rami?
I can. There's one. I put this little notice for people to post questions. There was this question here: did Ali get his car back?
Why don't you just give a little background so people understand Flower Power's question?
So,
just quickly,
so our car broke down. Tires got punctured. We had to abandon our car so that we could get back to safety in Saida. And the next day, Ali went back with a friend, and they got the car fixed somehow. They changed the tires. I told him it was a terrible idea, but I think he has a different way of assessing risk. And he said it was fine and safe. It turned out that it was safe for him, but this is definitely something I try to forget and try to box it out of my memory. But thankfully, he got his car back. So yes, he did.
Sorry, I'm trying to remove that. So that was not intentional. Please put a stop to this nonsense in the chat. This character has gone wild. In any event, so do you have time for some other questions, Rami?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Let's see. People, please, if you have any questions you want to put to Rami or me, feel free to do that, and we could probably happily answer them on any subject matter we've covered today or anything else that's on your mind.
By the way, Dimitri, I messaged my friends in the paramedic services of Nabatea. I asked, has there been any bombs in Nabatea today? My friend said, no, they only threw 2 sound bombs. I don't know the specific name of it. So essentially, essentially the Israelis can only cause fear, but they cannot really bomb or use ammunition. So that's kind of the status at the moment in Nabatea. If there were going to be any explosions, any bombing, any artillery, any airstrikes today, it would have been in Nabatea, and our comrades in the south are telling us that Nabatea was not hit. So we cannot predict how that will continue, but essentially today seems to be a quiet day in Nabatea.
Yeah, this is a good, thank you, Lillian. Good suggestion. We should line somebody up to moderate the chat. It's kind of hard to be conducting the live stream and moderating at the same time. So do you have any questions there, Rami, you see that we can answer?
Have you ever gotten death threats from either side?
Yes, I have. Quite a few, actually. When I was, after I returned from a journalistic trip to Moscow and Crimea, somebody posted a photograph, a video, a horrible video of what they said was a Russian soldier being beheaded. And they said, "You're next." I've had numerous people when I was in Iran saying, they were tagging the IDF and emphasizing where I was located and saying, "Drop a bomb on this criminal, this anti-Semite." I had similar commentary while I was in South Lebanon. I've had a number of people also in Canada who are arch neocons demand that the Canadian government arrest me for violating sanctions laws because I went to countries like Iran and to Russia, and others saying that I should be charged with hate speech, and some saying even that I should be deported from Canada, even though I'm a Canadian citizen, was born in the country. So yeah, it just comes with the territory.
So this is a question I think could be interesting for you to answer, Dimitri. Why aren't Palestinians part of negotiations with the US and Iran? No mention of Israel having to leave Gaza.
Well, that's an excellent question. It's one that is being much debated. In fact, today, as I was in the car, our friend at BetBeat Media, Karim, sent me a video of Ahmed Saladin from Propaganda & Co. debating somebody, an Iranian who's in Iran, about whether or not the Iranian government has abandoned the people of Gaza. And it was actually a very civilized and informative debate. I think the position of those who reject that contention is that the power of the Iranian government, the leverage, is limited, and they have not explicitly included Gaza. They say all fronts in the MOU, that the military operations must be stopped at all fronts, which of course would include Gaza, but they only explicitly mention one country other than Iran, and that's Lebanon. And an Iranian official, I think it was Dropsite News, explained that the reason for that is because they believe that their leverage is limited at this time. But that doesn't mean that they've abandoned the people of Palestine, not by a long shot, because if they achieve their objectives, and if the MOU is actually implemented, which admittedly is a big if, that ultimately would greatly benefit the Palestinian people. If the Lebanese resistance is preserved and Iran can strengthen economically, and the United States is forced to move its military bases out of the region, or at least some of them, that would weaken Israel, strengthen Iran, and better enable Iran to protect the Palestinian people. Now, the other thing I want to say about this question is that I don't think that any of us living in the West, actually, it doesn't really matter if you live in the West. If you live in a country whose government is either supporting Israel or essentially acquiescing in its crimes, then you're really not in a position to criticize the Iranian approach to the Palestinian issue, because they've done more than any of these governments, those that support Israel or have acquiesced in its crimes, to defend the Palestinian cause. And rather than criticize the Iranians for not doing enough, What we should be doing, those of us who live in such countries, and I certainly am one such person, my country is, I'm Greek and Canadian, are fanatically supporting Israel. So rather than criticize Iran for not doing enough, I feel it's my obligation to do more in defense of the Palestinian cause. And my fellow citizens need to do more. These governments, including the governments of Canada and Greece, speak in our name. For those of us who are citizens of these countries, they are funded by our taxes. They have the blood of Palestinian children on their hands. So I'm not going to condemn the Iranian government or criticize it for not doing enough. I'd rather devote my energies to exposing the depravity and complicity of my own governments.
Now, there's a question here. What do you expect from Iran to do now? I think that the Iranians have confirmed that the status quo has been changed forever. The Strait of Hormuz is going to have some sort, the status quo in the Strait of Hormuz has also changed. Iran has shown that if there is a violation of any ceasefire, then the Strait of Hormuz can be open or closed. And we also know that if Israel attacks Beirut, Israel will receive a special delivery of Shahids and these hyperballistic missiles that are basically leveling buildings to the ground in occupied Palestine. And what I expect is the rules of engagement to slowly and gradually become more and more profound. So what I expect from Iran is any strikes on Saida will also mean strikes on occupied Palestine. And then maybe in a couple of months, strikes on Nabatiyah means strike on occupied Palestine. Strikes on Sur will get you strikes on occupied Palestine. Until, I believe, hopefully, we get to a place where there's a rule of engagement. That means that any bombings in Gaza, that should be like at a future, in a future war, let's just say, with Gaza, this current one is not done, Iran should interfere the same way it interfered when Beirut got attacked. I expect Iran in the future to do the same, whether it is by shutting the Strait of Hormuz so that the whole world pays the price for any form of murdering and killing in Gaza. The whole world bears responsibility for not stopping the Zionist entity, and Iran has the cards to make it happen. So this is what I expect over time, Iran to gradually move the rules of engagement towards justice for Palestine.
Okay. We have another question for you, Rami. What is Carpe Diem 44? What is impact of white phosphorus and glyphosate drops? This is the pesticide that the Israelis have been apparently spraying on Lebanon.
Well, first of all, white phosphorus, one of the reasons why it's so damaging is because just the white phosphorus, in many times you cannot actually see it, and it can set your skin on fire. And it also produces massive destruction of Lebanese ecosystem. There were hills that we drove by that were entirely burnt by white phosphorus, because you could just spread it much more easily, and it causes a lot of destruction. And Israel has been doing this to either level entire areas to the ground that it cannot do so with much ease, whether it's through airstrikes or through mortar rounds. These specific hills, I did not show them because I'm not sure. I mean, the media tour told us a bit more. The information they gave us about that specific hill, I'm not sure if we can openly talk about this, but this is one of the many hills that Israel used white phosphorus to basically burn entirely. I mean, it's illegal under international law. It destroys the ecosystem and causes damage that cannot be controlled because you just spread it all over. And it causes uncontrollable amounts of destruction. I haven't seen it applied yet. I've seen videos, I believe videos from 2 days ago where white phosphorus was used. But Dimitri, maybe you want to engage on this topic.
I'll only add that when we were in Nabatea together about 10 days ago, we interviewed the head of the Nabatea Civil Defense, and he said that the Israelis were using white phosphorus in and around Nabatea on an almost daily basis, that there had been countless attacks. So this is a war crime, as he properly mentioned. But again, that doesn't seem to deter any Western government from supporting Israel's brutalization of Lebanon. One thing I want to say while I'm on that subject, I commend to you, an article that Eve Engler just wrote about this demand that Hezbollah be disarmed. What prompted Eve's article was that this ghoul, the Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand, said she just called the president of Lebanon or the prime minister, was saying, yes, we stand for Lebanon's territorial integrity. And at the same time, she expressed support for the disarmament of Hezbollah. And Eve quite properly pointed out that without Hezbollah, Israel would almost certainly be able to dismember Lebanon and destroy its territorial integrity. And so that these two positions were radically inconsistent. I think I will say it as often as I have to, that it is the height of depravity for anybody to say that those who resist a genocidal regime should be completely divested of their light weapons, but that the genocidal monster should be armed to the teeth as it's carrying out the genocide. Anybody who says that is, in my view, a war criminal, which means just about every Western leader. Now, we have another question here from Kel7195, Rami. What's the status of Ali al-Tahrir Hill? Some Israeli sources are claiming they have taken it. The Lebs are saying no, and the tunnel videos are from elsewhere in South Lebanon. So maybe you could just start by quickly explaining what Ali al-Tahrir Hill is, so people understand its importance.
So first of all, Ali al-Tahrir Hill is around 5 kilometers south of Nabatea. It is south of Kfar Tibnit. It is a hill, it is a bit north of Kfar Tibnit. It is a hill that overlooks pretty much entire Nabatea region, especially the city center of Nabatea. So there's a vantage point there where you can easily put artillery there and target whatever seems, whatever the Israelis deem fit to bomb and target. They could do it from Ali Tahrir. The Israelis claim that within Ali Tahrir, there's a Hezbollah base. There's a tunnel that cuts through Ali Tahrir, where, according to them, there are dozens of Hezbollah fighters that are seeking shelter within the tunnels inside Ali Tahrir. I'm hearing different information. What some people are claiming that this is not true. There's no Hezbollah in Ali Tahrir. In other places, I was told that there are bases inside hills that Hezbollah uses. So it's a bit uncertain. But one thing about the status of the so-called Israeli Hezbollah base within Ali Tahrir, but one thing that is certain is that Israel has not taken operational control of Ali Tahrir. They cannot walk freely across it. If they did, they wouldn't have to bomb it, right? So they're bombing. Though until today, they were bombing Ali Tahrir every single day. Actually, Dimitri, when we were in Najd al-Sha'biyya hospital, all the attacks that we saw were mainly focused on Kfar Tibnit and Ali Tahrir. I've shown you guys photos of 2 Israeli swines, terrorist occupiers, that were neutralized. This is Mr. Kebab, and this guy is and then there's Nir Ben Ari. These people are currently being used as fertilizer in Ali Tahrir. So the Israelis talk a lot, they claim a lot. The Americans also claim that the Iranian Navy and military is leveled to the ground, yet they're still able to dictate the Strait of Hormuz as they deem fit. They claim that Hezbollah is weakened. we've seen more casualties over the last few days of Israeli soldiers barbecued by Hezbollah fighters than we've ever heard in the recent history of Hezbollah. So the Israelis can claim that Ali Tahir has been under control or is under some form of Israeli control. They're trying to get that to exert control over Ali Tahir, but the reality is that there's still heavy fighting there. They're eating casualties, and now they're trying to negotiate across. There's something called a mechanism. The mechanism is where the Israelis, they speak to the UN peacekeepers that are stationed at the border, whatever, if they want to communicate something to Hezbollah. So basically it goes from Hezbollah and the Lebanese army to the UN peacekeepers, and the UN peacekeepers then communicate to the Israeli army. The Israelis are asking the UN peacekeepers to facilitate the retrieval of their 3 or 4 dead Israeli soldiers that are rotting on the hill of Ali Tahir. If it was under such control by the Israelis, they wouldn't need to use this mechanism to gather their killed, their dead terrorists. They wouldn't have to do this. So that's the reality, is that it's hard for me to give them victory in Ali Tahir if they cannot even claim they're dead.
As you were speaking, I checked the Times of Israel website, and they are reporting that a drone factory and launch site hidden inside South Lebanon mountain have been captured. But it doesn't seem like they're describing Ali Tahir. What they say is that this is buried beneath a hilltop village in southern Lebanon, just kilometers from the Israeli border. One second. They identified the village. The nearest is Majd al-Zun. The tunnel runs several hundred meters into the mountain, reaching depths of 29 meters under Majd al-Zun. So I don't think that is Ali Tahir. I'm not even sure that this report is true. But I'm pretty sure that Ali Tahir is much further inland. Yeah, this is not Ali Tahir. This is not far from the Mediterranean coast, Majd al-Zun, very close to the Israeli border. So as of this moment, I've not seen any reports that Ali Tahir has been captured. And in fact, I think the evidence suggests to the contrary, it has been defended successfully. So Rami, we have gone now for more than 90 minutes. Unless you see another question in there that we missed that we can quickly answer, I would suggest we call it a day. Here's a question. You can. I'll leave this to you since you are of Lebanese vintage.
So my 2 favorite places so far in Lebanon, and I mean my answer might be biased because what I enjoy is places that inspire me and that promote values that align with me. And I believe that Nabati, although I mean the last time I was there as a city, lively and whatnot, that was when I was probably 6, 7, or 8 years old. So I don't have any memories of Nabatiya, but being there for Ashura, being there, witnessing the resistance that is and the strength of the people standing up so strongly, meeting these paramedics and the staff of the Nashta Shabiya Hospital, Nabatiya will forever be in my heart the most inspiring place for me that I've visited in Lebanon. Of course, there's Bint Ishbel that I would love to visit one day, and Marun al-Ras, but sadly I have never visited those places. And then my second favorite place is in Beirut. There's an area called Mar Ilyas, which is a Palestinian community living there, and it is beautiful. It's a bit of an I do not want to romanticize it too much because, of course, life is a bit difficult over there for the Palestinians. But it's like a community. It's like an oasis within Lebanon, within Beirut. You don't feel like you're in the hustling and bustling city of Beirut. It's like just a few streets, a small community. Everyone knows each other. But when I'm there, I feel at home. There's a revolutionary spirit, and people there, when you ask them where they're from, they tell you the village in Palestine and not whatever temporary shelter they're finding in Lebanon, even if they were born in the diaspora. And I believe that this Mar Elias symbolizes this kind of solidarity that Palestinians have across the world, and that the Palestinian world, despite being a huge diaspora spread across hundreds of countries, we are still part of a tiny little country called Palestine, and we are all neighbors somehow in our liberated Palestine one day. So this is, for me, Mar Elias is the most beautiful place in Beirut.
Thank you, Rami. And finally, two things. Shout out to Farazanana Deem 6755, and also to Champa Manda for your contributions. Much appreciated. We will put them to good use. And lastly, I believe that Iran is going to play Belgium in about 25 minutes. And although I am boycotting this World Cup, I am making an exception for televised matches involving the Iranian national football team. So if you're inclined to watch, it'll be starting shortly. With that, we'll be signing off. Sorry, Rami, go ahead.
One last thing. We need to monitor the Colombian elections. It's Ivan Cepeda versus Palantir, right? We're seeing Palantir expand across Latin America. I'm hoping to do a report on that. And then we also need to cover the economic reforms in Cuba. And of course, we need to support our Iranian brothers who are, with all odds against them, American restrictions on their ability to travel to their matches. They'll be playing against Belgium, and we need to support them.
You're here. Thank you very much, everybody. Until our next live stream, please be safe, and peace to you all. We're signing off today on June 21st, 2026.